party down, location mysterious. Wanna rock this con like my man James Tiberius. Jesse and Marina, they're mad clever like the Negus. Gonna guide you through the scenes, beam from London to Las Vegas. Where to go, how to dress, when to sleep, who to see. Celebs not to miss, Curtis Wang and SMG. Star Trek into awesome, build some memories at last. Set the proper course, the Shore Leave Podcast. Boom.
Welcome to the 60th episode of Shore Leave, your Star Trek Convention Community Podcast. My name is Jesse Okendo. I'm one of your hosts. And with me, I have the ever so well-traveled Marina. Marina, you want to introduce yourself? Tell us who you are.
Sure, Jesse. Marina Kravchuk, one of your co-hosts. And sadly, as things are right now, not so well-traveled. All my plans are getting pushed around, but we still have our convention memories, and so let's talk about them. So folks listening, as you know, Shoreleaf is part of the Tricorder Transmissions Network, and if you enjoy what we do here on Shoreleaf or any other of our sister shows, please consider joining our Patreon. You can go directly to patreon.com/the Tricorder Transmissions, or visit our network webpage, which is www.thetricordertransmissions.com, and click on the Patreon link. Becoming a patron will get you access to unedited early release episodes, sometimes with bonus materials before and after, occasional invitation to Patreon hangouts with the hosts and fellow patrons, and perhaps some other things. And as always, we thank all our patrons and all our listeners for your support. Now, we do have a pretty special topic, although in view of what I already said, every topic seems special these days.
Yes.
Would you like to introduce it, Jesse?
Yeah, so for those listening, you should have heard the previous episode where we had a Star Trek The Cruise preview, kind of, what to expect. Well, Marina and I have returned from the cruise, and we've got a lot to share. So this is going to be a review of Star Trek The Cruise 4, provided by Entertainment Cruise Productions. And this will probably be one of two episodes, because this episode has a special guest to give us a little lowdown on the behind the scenes stuff. And then we'll have a fan-centric episode after that. So Marina, you want to introduce our special guest? I'm too excited to, and I almost will say it if you don't.
Absolutely. It's super excited. I mean, this was my first cruise. This was your fourth cruise, right? You've done all four of them. And this is actually our special guest's first cruise as well, even though he's done other ones. And without further ado, we have with us Mr. Garrett Wang, Ensign King himself. How are you, Garrett?
I'm good. Thank you, guys.
No, thank you for joining us. We're so excited because, first of all, it's Marina's first cruise. I've been on all the cruises before, so it was fun prepping with Marina to go on the cruise. And then I'm just happy that you agreed to talk to us because, you bring a different insight into it, and we know some of the stuff you do will give you a chance to kind of give us your convention lowdown and what you do in other areas. But, we're just interested, and we just think it's going to be a great conversation just to talk about the first-timers experience, so and see what you thought and everything. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, of course. And it's also my first, at least with this outfit, with this Star Trek cruise outfit, so my first one too. So
yeah, it was. I tell you, the newcomers are always so excited about it. So I don't know how you are, but so Garrett, do you want to give us a little intro as to what you do? And we focus on our Star Trek or on our conventions and Star Trek tracks and everything. And I know you do some work in that in some other conventions. You want to give us a lowdown?
yeah, so I've done the circuit, pretty much all the different conventions there are. I've done a lot of them, but I've taken big interest in DragonCon, which is the yearly convention, which happens on Labor Day weekend in Atlanta, Georgia.
And that's where I live.
Oh, okay, perfect. So I became the Trek Track director. So I'm the director of all Star Trek programming for DragonCon. It's a volunteer position. The prior Trek Track director served for 17 years, and they let him go for one reason or another. And then I sort of I was just kind of there at that transition period where I made a suggestion, and I said, well, what do you think of me as your new Trek Track director? And they thought I was pulling a practical joke on them. They didn't think it was real. And I told him, no, I'm very much interested because it took you guys 6 years to invite me back to come to Dragon Con again. My first time was in 2003, and then 2009 I was able to go back again, and I think 2009 was the last year of the prior Trek Track director, and 2010 was my first year as the Trek Track director. So for me, my main, it's a volunteer position. So I'm the first actor, series regular from any sci-fi or fantasy show to go behind the scenes and work as a volunteer to help run a convention. And the way that Dragon Con is broken down into is it's different tracks of programming. So there's Trek track, there's Star Wars track, there's British sci-fi track, there's there's probably 15, 20, I don't even know the exact number, probably close to 30 tracks of programming. And Trek track specifically deals with everything Star Trek. Unfortunately, I do not have the power to decide who comes every year because that's sort of a misconception. People always feel like, oh, well, you're the Trek track director, you can get me in. But in reality, the senior committee, people who've been around since the very, very beginning, they're kind of in charge of who is invited. I can make my suggestions, but the end result is usually the senior committee's decision. But that being said, once we have the different guests, when it comes down to the actual programming itself, what we offer and what day and what time, and that kind of falls upon me and my first in command. Each track director has one first in command person that they work with. My first is named Leo Vicentin. He's been with me for probably about 5 years now, maybe. I've had a couple of other firsts that came and went, and so now Leo's been with me for the longest. And that's something that I totally enjoy doing. I love Dragon Con, and I love sci-fi in general, and Star Trek, obviously. And but to bring it back to the cruise is something, I've done Trek cruises in the past. There's a couple of other outfits out there. There's Cruise Trek, and then there was one called Trek Cruise. I think the exact opposite.
Yeah, there was also a Sea Trek back in the 80s.
Yeah, that's right. So I've done Cruise Trek cruises, and those have been great. I never did Sea Trek, which was run by Joe Motes and his people out of Florida. That's now defunct. That company is no longer in existence. Yeah. But Cruise Trek has been around. Charlie has been running that forever, and I've done, probably 4 or 5 of his cruises. And my very first, Cruise Trek was back in probably, I think it was 1996 or 7. It's back in the 90s. Wow. Yeah, but the difference with Cruise Trek compared to Star Trek The Cruise, which Marina, you and I went on for the first time this year, the difference is that Cruise Trek really is only anywhere between 100 to 250 fans. And so if the ship carries, 2,000 passengers, 100 would be with Cruise Trek, and the other 1,900 have no clue what we're doing on that ship. On that ship.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. So so you put on your Trek costume, your cosplay, or whatever you're doing, and then you have 100 people that are like, yeah, we love it, and the other 1,900 like, ooh, what are you doing?
What is
well, it's not Halloween, yeah.
Oh, I think that would be awesome, I think.
But that in and of itself it's a different experience, and I've been dying to be a part of this incarnation of cruising and Star Trek together because all the passengers are fans. There's nobody on this cruise ship that isn't a fan, which means you have 2,500 to almost 3,000 fans all on the same ship. Year 1 and year 2. I heard about it year 1, and when I went to ask about it, they were kind of saying, "Oh, we're already full." And unfortunately, in this day and age, it has gotten to the point where you have select number, like 2, maybe 3 managers, appearance managers, that hold all the power. And so when they get in there, they kind of say, well, these are my clients that I want to have on the ship, and then you need to accommodate me because I'm bringing you, you know, popular Trek factor number 1. I want Trek 2, 3, 4, 5, 6A, 7B, you know,
Wow.
they're all going to be on this cruise. And so me being kind of independent, I don't have those people as my main managers. I was sort of on the back burner, and it was a little frustrating because from year 1 to year 2, they didn't change the itinerary that much in terms of the not the itinerary, but the lineup of the actors was almost identical. Is that right, Jesse? I mean, was there maybe 1 or 2 extras, or was it exactly the same people from year 1 to year 2?
It wasn't exactly the same people, but it was the same people and some different people. You know, so there's definitely a core that goes.
Yes. Yes. So it was the core of the people, and then I think each year they designate one person as the captain of the cruise. Is that what they call it?
Yep.
Okay. So year 1 it was Shatner. Year 2 it was it George Takei then?
I think it was George. Yeah.
Yeah, George Takei.
And then year 3 was it Will Wheaton?
Will Wheaton. Yep.
Yeah. And so and then this year was it Janeway this year?
Yeah, Kate was the captain.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm hoping to lobby myself to be captain for next year. It'd be really kind of cool.
Great idea.
Because I really do believe if you're going to be the captain of the cruise, you've got to be the most accessible of everyone, I think. I mean, you have to, you know, because I know year 1, Shatner pretty much probably sequestered himself to his grand mega suite the entire time that he was there. I mean, I don't think that he was really rubbing shoulders or mingling.
I will neither confirm nor deny that. but you're right.
Okay.
There's a certain amount of you guys that come and just like are out and about, and then there are some that aren't, right? And so I think you get that in a convention anyway.
Well, you have to be a little bit more practical, because can you imagine if any one of the captains basically walked out in the middle of a promenade, it would have been a stampede.
Yeah.
So
probably so.
But Garrett, you were very out and about. I saw you like everywhere.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I did, you know, and I that's how I am at STOV in Vegas.
Yep.
That's how I'm at DragonCon. I'm like that at every convention. Like I typically don't have an escort that takes me to the venues that I have to be at. I'm doing it all by myself. And I pride myself on being someone who is comfortable in those circles, to be rubbing elbows or pretty much elbows. No handshakes now, right, in the current era. So that's always been my MO.
I actually wanted to ask you something, and this is something that I know from your show Onboard, that, you know, once they said that you will be coming, they asked you what you're going to do. So I actually wanted to bring that up. It's sort of like to say that that's one of the main differences that I did notice between, you know, the cruise guests and the typical, you know, conventional convention guests, so to speak, is that, you know, at the convention we do have traditional Q&As. Sometimes there are some presentations, but for the most part it's, you know, the person gets out on the stage and just talks about the stuff and gets questions from the audience. Here it's more presentation oriented in the sense that the guests are expected to do something. So if you can talk a little bit more about this, because I think, you know, folks who do just conventions are most certainly not aware of that.
Yeah, I mean, the standard convention, and pardon my dogs, they're going crazy right now with each other. If you hear some growling in the background, that's not my stomach. I'm not hungry right now. Okay.
I'm keeping my dogs at bay as well. My listeners know that the dogs will make an appearance at some point.
Yeah, I have two. I have a Pomsky, which is a Pomeranian and a Husky, Siberian Husky mix, and then I have a Chorky, which is also known as a Yorwawa, which is half Chihuahua, half Yorkie. So the little one.
Oh my goodness!
The little one is causing major problems. The Chorky with the Pomsky. The Pomsky is about 45 pounds, and the Chihuahua is like about 8 pounds. And so the 8-pounder thinks that she controls the world, and she's literally nipping at the Pomsky left and right, and he's just tolerating her and growling at her all the time, like, just leave me alone.
I know that feeling. I've got a Chiweenie and a pit bull. So
what's a Chiweenie?
Chiweenie is a half Chihuahua, half Dachshund.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a very interesting looking dog, but mine has the Chihuahua gene, so she chases the pit bull around, and the pit bull just...
Oh, wow, yeah. Okay, so back to the topic at hand. That's all right. Most conventions, whether it's your local Comic-Con or a Star Trek specific convention, they run on the same format, right? There's usually a Q&A session, a panel session sometime during the day, during the weekend, for your favorite actor, or maybe a group. It might be 2 actors, or maybe an entire cast if you're lucky, right? At the Q&A, it's standard where there's a host up there, and the host kind of fields questions from the audience, and the actors answer them. And then there's also the autograph and photo op component where actors are either sitting at their table for a certain amount of hours per day. They're signing autographs there and they're doing selfies there. And there's official photo op sessions where the actors are dressed. And this is what's so funny. A lot of times when I tell people about conventions that I do, they all assume I wear my Starfleet uniform to every convention. No, I do not wear my uniform. In fact, I never even got one of the uniforms. They never gave me one. They auctioned off all the Harry Kim uniforms.
Oh.
So there's nothing. Yeah. So they have 17 or 18 of them, and they auctioned them all off, which is a bummer. But the uniform component does show up at certain conventions. For instance, they'll have like a photo op with the Ferengis, and all the Ferengis will have a makeup artist put Ferengi makeup on them, and they'll wear their clothing or something similar to what they wore in the show for the photo op. And obviously that's a higher priced photo op typically when actors agree to be in costume. And it's typically more the aliens that you see this happening, whether it's Ferengis or Klingons. You don't really have it so much happening with the human characters in Star Trek. So that's the standard convention format. Q&A, signing an autograph, selfies, and then standard official photo op sessions. What's different with the cruise is they ask each actor to contribute something, to do something that is close to their heart or that they're good at doing. For instance, this cruise, didn't Nana do some type of cooking class?
Oh, she did, and it was wonderful. I got a chance to attend, and it was. Yes, and actually get to try 4 out of 5 things that she presented.
What did she do? What exactly? Dishes?
Obviously, we're very limited by time. It's still pretty standard, sort of like an hour-long session that you get in the schedule. There were 2 drinks. Unfortunately, my brain is skipping what the second one was, but the first one and the first thing that she actually did was a Manhattan, a cocktail. So that was very nice. Very bourbon, and yes, I was very warm and happy when I left. And and there were 3 appetizers. One was sort of like a very basic. Basically, the whole idea was that you don't have to be crazy with stuff. It's just something that you can, in many cases, just literally throw with whatever you have at home and present it to friends that are coming over. So there was like a goat cheese on a cracker, and there was a tuna tartare. Now, tuna obviously you would have to have at home. But it was amazing because she was, she did have the assistance from the ship's chefs, and so they could actually generate as many of pieces as they could, so people could actually try. But she was presenting it right there in front of. They were using Studio B3. That's the one that's actually an ice rink. So plenty of space, and they just set it all up in the middle, and boom, it was done. And it was.
She's
quite amazing.
She's done that since year 1, and she always draws that big crowd because she's actually a really good cook.
And it's great. It's exactly that. Like when you actually see the actor doing something a little bit beyond, telling stories that those people who have been on the circuit. I mean, I could probably tell the elbow story myself, probably using the same words that you do at this point. But so it's nice to see something a little bit beyond. And so yeah, that was wonderful.
Yeah, one of the draws from the cruise is exactly that. So, we call it the unconventional voyage, and it really is because it's not only photo ops and panels, but like we have plays going on. have recitals going.
Yeah.
People do
Game shows.
Yeah, the game
Yeah.
shows are my favorite. So like it really is just, and it's fun to see everybody in not that same con element, but just in everybody's just having a good time. So
Right.
I love
Now,
it.
did you guys ever get a chance to go to Trek Expo in Tulsa, Oklahoma before it went out of business?
No,
Are you
no,
hunting
but
me down? I mean, I lived in Tulsa for quite a while too.
no, but that's the famous story that I remember hearing. At my very first convention, you were actually one of the guests. So, I feel like I know Tulsa just because by the power of the land.
So you guys did go? You were at Trek Expo then?
No, not me, but just I don't know if you have you ever gone?
Yeah. I lived there for quite a bit. So I went to maybe one or two of them, not the one that the story came from.
Well, Jesse, they actually, like I said, that is the only other convention other than maybe STLV where they ask the actors to do something other than just the Q&A. Trek Expo was always, they had the actor talent show is what it was, and that's where the power of Delancey was born in 2007 or whatever it was. Oh my gosh, just too funny. Yeah. But it's just nice to be able to see a little bit something that's different than every single con that you've been to, Yeah, and it's so funny because when you said that you could probably say this elbow story, verbatim. Megan is sitting next to me. She was like, I told you, because she kept telling me like before I was doing my stand-up. She's like, don't tell stories that people have heard 5,000 times. And I said, well, there's always a portion of that audience that have never seen and never heard that story. And then Megan's like, yeah, like one.
Yeah, and the thing is that I did notice that quite a lot of the cruise crowd does not necessarily sort of intersect with the convention crowd. There were quite a few people who were primarily cruisers. So you probably would have still got to, I mean, let's face it, both shows, rather, because it was on the same night, but both shows were packed. I'm surprised they did not allow enough, well, not enough, but more room for it. They could have easily used the main theater for your show. Because that theater was booked up though. That it was booked up with the Shatner the Shatner / Data interviewing him thing. Whatever that was. I don't even know. What that was. I guess that was just Q&A. Because I was supposed to meet with my sister. I'm like, I'll get a seat. It's going to be great because I've already gone for several of the presentations / panels that they had at BC. And I walk in and, I was literally standing with my back against the audio booth that they had in the back because that was the only space that was left. And the place was just packed. And it was fun, and it was great fun.
Yeah, I mean, that's good to know. I mean, I'm excited that it was a full house, but I also was feeling like, really, guys, can I have something a little bit bigger? And they were like, oh, there's other programming going on in there right now. So on Thursday, there was the Jeffrey Combs, his Poe, Edgar Allan Poe presentation. So that wasn't working. And then on Saturday, when I did it again, that was when it was Shatner's panel or whatever it was. So
yeah, one of the things I heard, one of the things I experienced this year was in the other cruises, every cruise is different. So not knocking the other cruises, or this one, but like the other cruises, there was a little more spacing out, but there wasn't as many talent. So the ship's bigger, so we got a lot more of our people we like to see, show up. And so there was a lot more programming than like I was used to seeing. And so like I was used to it being more relaxed, where like we could all go here and then we all go here together. Like we don't have to decide. And there's a lot of deciding. And I'm telling you, on a cruise, I don't want to decide because I got the drink package. I don't need to make so it was hard to pick out, where to go. And then I know ECT's done this now 4 years, right? And so they're still learning like what draws the crowd, and depending on and the crowd's different. Like Marina said, like it's just a different demographic. There's that Venn diagram where you have people like Marina and I who are con goers and cruise goers. then you have
Right.
just cruise goers, and then you have people who may just on a whim try it out, and so it's just different. So when anyone asks me, hey, do you like STLV better or the cruise, I have to say it's apples and oranges. There is
It really is.
no comparison.
It really is. Yeah, there isn't. And it just to give a little background, so ECP is the company that throws this Star Trek cruise. ECP's background, they run other cruises other than Star Trek, obviously. They had an 80s music cruise that went on right after we came back to Miami. And then that was like, thank God they were lucky that thing even left Miami. They ended up completing that cruise. But ECP has kind of made their name on jazz music cruises. And so I guess when they took on the whole Star Trek licensing and started doing Star Trek cruises, the CEO had no clue of, he didn't know a lot of the stuff, like who was who on which show. And the joke and the truth was after year 1, year 2, I sent an email in and I said, look, is there any more space for next year's cruise? And they're like, yes, we have these various packages for fans. You can get an inside cabin. And I said, I'm not a fan. I'm on the show. And they were like, oh? And I literally, it was just like, really? Oh my God. So.
Well, they're definitely entertainers because they covered up pretty well that they didn't know a lot,
Right.
Favorite
right,
thing, I don't know,
right.
Garrett, if you heard it, but I've heard it. Every captain, is given a script, how they say in the morning, we're on this Delta Quadrant and go in here.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's the most entertaining part of the cruise for me because, they're like, what am I saying? What words is coming out of my mouth? And you had one captain who liked to play and says, live long and have a good day. And, he would just say it wrong on purpose. So yeah, but I will tell you, they partner really well with their vendors because by the end of a week, they picked up, the lingo and even the Vulcan salute and all that stuff. So
yeah, no, they've definitely done a great job. And the other thing that I've noticed, and probably both Marina and Jesse, you guys can both attest to this, is that because ECP has been doing music-oriented, cruises, but way before Star Trek cruises, the sound has been amazing on every panel, on every. I mean, compared to your standard convention that you go to, it blows away. You
yes,
agree, guys?
absolutely.
You agree?
Yes.
Oh my God.
It's so difficult, especially when you have a standard Comic-Con setup, when it's literally it's not a place that has any kind of audiovisual setup. Literally,
correct.
We have a concrete and metal box with curtains going going and that's your main theater.
Yeah, my
And the
favorite.
sound just appears.
My favorite is
that.
Marina and I went to Destination Star Trek a couple years ago. Remember
God.
down there was
Which one?
very interesting. Birmingham.
Oh, right, where they have the panels in the middle of the entire floor, so you hear everything. Yeah.
It was a
they
big
have two locations, and unfortunately, it's pretty standard. So I've been to Boston Comic Con has the same thing. New York, kind of, sort of, even though they do have a separate space, but still, it's the sound simply reverberates because you have basically hard surfaces. You don't have a space specifically with acoustical requirements. So this was wonderful. I deeply appreciate when it's you have professional approach to this sort of thing. Not to knock on anyone who puts on the rest of the shows. Obviously, these are all companies who have been doing this for many, many years. It's just you work with what you have, and in this case, it's magnificent that we did have a fully furnished, so to speak, actual theater that you could deal with the music and the sound and the lights and everything. I mean, that was part of the show. So that's it's that SLV has that, several other conventions, but then once you're inside a large convention center, then of course the abilities kind of shrink.
Yeah. I mean, on a scale from 0 to 10, 0 being the worst possible sound that you could have and 10 being perfect, I would put the cruise at probably around a 9, maybe a 9.5. And then with the other, everyone else, whether it's STLV or Destination, I would say no one can get past a 5 for me, sound-wise. I mean, literally, no one is even close to what Star Trek The Cruise has come up with, But that's also due to their pedigree. What have they done? They've done jazz music cruises. So if you're there as a fan and you're listening to jazz music, they better be on point. They better have their A game going on because it's all about the sound at that point, right? When it's a music cruise specifically. And so we benefit as Star Trek fans and Star Trek actors on the cruises to have this wonderful knowledge of creating the best sound possible. So, yeah.
And it's amazing what they do because, you know, I was never a cruiser before all this. But like, I didn't know the work that it took to actually put all that together. And not only the amount of work, but how fast they have to do it. Because, you know, like, it doesn't sit a day. You know, you're like, one cruise ends, another one comes in. And the ability to start decorating and get everything ready and get all the sound set up. I mean, we had Joey Fairchild on here from ECT, and you know, he shared with us some of the magic behind the scenes that they have to do, and it's quite amazing. Like, hats off to them because, you know, like, it's the whole team. It's the whole team that's doing that, right? I mean, you know, and Joey was great. I talked to some of I became friends with some of the people that were basically, you know, the grunts of ECP, and I was like, so after we dock on Sunday and you're getting ready for the next 80s cruise, what kind of shift are you throwing in there? Are you going to be working? And he was like, well, that's going to be close to like 16 hours that we work. I'm like, what? I mean, what are you talking about? But then that makes sense. I mean, if they're sitting here tearing down and then putting up new, you know, signs and everything to change the ship for the 80s cruise, it's a tall order. It's not you know, it's not that easy. So I was definitely blown away by their operation and how professional they were. Joey has told me that next year I will have the larger space for my 2 shows. Oh, good. Yeah. Well, the one thing I appreciate about ECT, and every year it just gets better, right? And this year, so they had the Norwegian ship, and then they changed, and it was the same ship 2 years in a row. So you could tell that they learned from each year. But not only that, like, they learned from each minute. So, like, you know, if there's a log, it's like, this line is way too long, you know, by an hour it's fixed, you know, and so they've done that really well. I mean,
and what's more, they're willing to listen. This is something that we've noticed. Is, you know, we went together with my sister. That, you know, there were issues that were on the ECP side, and we would stop by to get services. They would listen very carefully. They would take notes, and they would say, you know, if it's something that cannot be done, like during this cruise, this is most certainly something that's going to be addressed going forward. So that's
which is great. That's what you want to hear, right?
Absolutely.
As a fan.
Absolutely.
Too often.
Yeah, because you know, in this case, because we are talking about this duality of this event. We have a Star Trek cruise, so there's Star Trek, and then there is the cruise. The cruise side, I was, be perfectly honest, not so impressed because their guest services actually suffered greatly compared to their. Okay. Yeah, I was not too happy about how some of the things got handled, but that's, you know, that's a whole separate story. But ECP. So
you're referring to the actual cruise staff themselves, not ECP.
Royal Caribbean. Yeah.
And I'll be perfectly honest with you. Megan and I felt the same thing. Like, we were trying to talk with customer service there, and it was like they spoke Greek or they didn't understand what we were trying to say. Yeah. It was like, what are you? Oh my goodness!
I was trying to gauge by the end of the trip, and then we spent the entire weekend. I was like, is it possible that the cruise line, because this was the first time charter with, you know, a Star Trek charter for them, so they just stumped by what our requirements were, what ECP wanted to them. Because let's face it, I mean, they put on a great show, but you still have to provide the cruise entertainment, the food and the excursions and everything else. And they're kind of started to fall through the cracks, and every time you would bring it up, we were kind of, well, in our personal case, it was kind of met with, like, I just work here, to general happen. That was not, that kind of soured the experience a little bit. But but everything else, you would go up to the ECT folk in the blue shirts, and they'll be like, oh, hold on, let me write this down so I can forward it to the proper person who's going to think on it, fix it, you know, whatever.
Perfect. Yeah. So I think if anyone has issues, the best thing is go to the ECP people, talk to them about it instead of dealing with the ship itself. But I'm sure the ship crew will probably change and adapt better for the following year. But back to what you were speaking when you were talking about how impressive it was that ECP staff would listen to you and they would actually take notes and they're flexible and they understand. There's empathy. Whereas I've experienced, some of the land-based conventions where they feel like they think they know what's going on, 1,000%. And whenever you make suggestions or you have an issue, it's almost talking to a wall where they're like, oh yeah, okay, whatever. We're going to do it our way anyway. We're not going to listen to what you say because we are the showrunners of this convention, and we don't really, we think we know our market best. And it's sort of, I find that even as an actor, I bumped into that as well, which is highly infuriating when people just, they don't even take, they don't even open themselves up to be somewhat flexible to when you have an issue. They just, they listen, they seem to listen, but they don't really listen is what it is.
Yeah, and I've seen that in, like you said, in the land-based ones. I know STLV every once in a while something pops up, and let's not kid ourselves, something always pops up at STLV, whether it's the Rio or the others, right? And it's always seems like it's a suggestion you give, but you may not see it changed. Where over the years with ECT, I've learned that they are listening and they ask a lot of questions. And I help run the unofficial, I guess, Facebook group, but Star Trek, they're going to get a group together no matter what. So I help admin that group, and they're really, they really listen, especially when some of these posts go a little haywire because of something, and if we just reach out to the ECT, they'll come in there and they'll go, oh, well, this is it, this is that, and I've never seen that in a convention, not in this type of convention. The fan-run ones, you do see that kind of interaction. Like Dragon Con, you obviously see that a little bit more. Yeah. But one, professionally run, you don't see that interaction at all. So ECT is just right on target. And that's why I keep going back. I don't have the vacation time anymore, but, I just in the ship a couple of days and I'm okay.
What I would like to see? I would like to see if each actor took one meal out of each day to eat with the fandom in the regular dining room.
I saw somebody mention that, saying that what a wonderful idea it would be just to have, obviously you have a limited number of people who would be able to do that. But
right.
Something that I think to have that at some of the conventions we have like a dedicated breakfast or lunch or something. But that would be a great idea.
Yeah, we had
direct interaction.
So the first year, I will tell you, my favorite between Denise Crosby and Marina Sirtis the first year, it was just amazing. So Denise Crosby's just all over the ship, and she'll stop and she'll chat with you, and Garrett, half the conventions are no, I can't take a picture. You guys have whatever it is you sign. I think I saw more of that this year, but I also see the actors going out of their way to kind of be there for the fans. Marina Sirtis joined us at the pool and it wasn't a scheduled pool party. It was just a sea day, and she's like, I'm going to go dance in the pool with these crazy people. And so that was fun.
Wow.
And I think, with this, we're not as crazy on the cruise as maybe we are in a convention, because we respect them because we know they're stuck on that ship. So I tend to just say hi, and you can always tell it's not just entertainers, it's anybody. If you're going at a certain pace, leave them alone. They've got somewhere to go, and if they're leisurely, you can say hi. But as long as you know your social cues, and I think we have a great time together. And I know, Marina, did you see some of the other actors running around while you were cruising?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
It's kind of interesting that I did feel like during the cruise there was a little bit more expectation of that the actors will be up around and interacting with people. I've met everyone before, thankfully, through the convention. So I was kind of like, okay, great, great to see, and I'm moving on. Whereas I could see some people were kind of angling to see if they can set up, a chat or something else. But I did see, a lot of people were moving through the crowd, and you could kind of just, kind of call out, hi, how are you? Hope you're having a great day or something like that. So that was very nice. But to be perfectly frank, I did not, since I don't necessarily try to engage people when they're outside of their I'm making quotation marks in the air right now, work hours,
Okay.
outside of panels and everything.
Yeah.
I usually try not to trouble anyone. Even they're by by the bar and like you can see that, oh yeah, they're here ready to, I don't know, talk, chat, whatever. Great. Otherwise, I'm like, no, I'm not going to bother anyone. But I did see quite a few people around. Yeah. Not all of the guests that we had this year, but I don't know, probably a third.
A third of them, yeah.
Did you get to go to any of the parties? So like every night we had a different theme event. Did you get to experience any of those?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I went to the Klingon, was it the pajama party? Is that right? Yeah. Well, whichever one Kenneth Mitchell was kind of hosting.
Yeah.
I went to that one. So
the Klingon rave.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Klingon rave. And Kenneth, I had the chance to, literally everybody who's ever been on Star Trek, I've moderated their panel at DragonCon pretty much, whether it's whether it's TOS or TNG or DS9 or even the new guys, Discovery. I've moderated, a lot of those guys. So I had the honor of moderating Kenneth, and let's see, I guess Mary was there at DragonCon, and so was oh my goodness, oh my gosh, I'm blanking. Who plays the human admiral in Discovery? Female? Jane something.
Jane Brooke.
Jane Brooke, yeah.
Yeah. She was there. And then, it's so funny because whenever I don't think of him as Trek, I always think of him as Malfoy's father.
Jason,
Yeah.
Or even more, I think of him as the bad guy in The Patriot, Mel Gibson's movie. Because literally, he is, oh my gosh, when someone's a good actor, when they play the bad guy in a movie and you hate them so much, you cannot wait for them to die, that they've done a great job. And Jason Isaacs.
And then they're going to be the sweetest person in person. I'm amazed by that. There are several people like that. I'm like, I can't. You're a horrible, horrible character. But then you meet him and he's like, can I hug you? You're so wonderful.
Okay, so literally, in The Patriot, this guy was responsible for rape and pillaging and everything. I mean, just horrible, like just murder. And then all of a sudden, it was just, it's like you meet him in person, like you said, and he's so gracious. He's very nice. He's well spoken, and he's making eye contact with you when you talk to him. He's just a wonderful human being. But that's a testament to his acting ability, right? I mean, he did so well as somebody that you just despise and loathe. But anyway, so he was on that panel, and I think maybe another actor or two. But I got a chance to meet all those guys, and Kenneth was there, and Kenneth and I hit it off, and so I decided I would go by and kind of help out with his party, and I did. I was on stage dancing a little bit there. And then I went to the Captain Proton party, which I hosted. That's my own party. And that was supposed to be with Robbie McNeil. But Robbie was not, Robbie wasn't available because he was directing in Vancouver. But I filled Robbie in, and I told him, I said, if you can at all make it for next year, that would be amazing, because then we can properly host the Captain Proton party. And I also said that we should probably go all out. We should probably have maybe some costume designers, do a mock-up of what we wore in Captain Proton. I mean, right. Yeah, because the ship told me, they said, well, we've got a costume for you for the Captain Proton. I said, what, similar to what I wore on the episode? They're like, well, kind of. And it ended up being a pair of overalls from the ship's crew, like Megan told me, like, that's why it looks so familiar. Like, we were on one of the days we got off the ship, we saw some of the engineers walk past in the same navy blue jumpsuit. That's what they gave me. So they gave me that and a belt, to put around, some boots. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is sort of like the last second, Halloween costume. Whereas if you want to go all out, I wouldn't be that tough to find some people that would be into creating this for us, to help us out.
I mean, that's an ECT,
Yeah.
because that's exactly the kind of stuff they like to hear,
Yeah, that's the stuff, exactly. So if we looked, and it's not that difficult. Captain Proton had he had a leather bomber jacket. He had goggles on, sort of like almost kind of a little bit steampunky looking in a way, and then the rest of his outfit was just stuff that you can find at the thrift store very easily, right? And then same thing with Buster Kincaid, Captain Proton's sidekick, who I played on Voyager. It's just things that you could easily, look around, take some time, replicate it to your best ability, and then that, more than anything, the fans come to that party and go, wow, they are dressed just like they were in the episode. Yeah, that's amazing.
Well, and you've seen some of the costumes. Like, there were a couple of Queen Arachnios out there and a couple of Busters, and I always get amazed. Like, I cosplay very little because I'm just not that talented, but, like,
Gotcha.
I don't know how these people, like, every year it's a mystery. How do they get all that stuff on a ship? That's what I want to know.
Exactly. You're thinking, how many bags do they bring with them? How do they carry all this stuff? They ended up doing it, right?
It's amazing. Last year we had like full board. Like, I think they were from the UK and like
Germany. No, they were German.
Yeah, and and they were like up and down the whole time. And I'm like, how do they get that on? Like, can they bring regular clothes? But it's a dedication of the fans, I guess. So well, I love it. I love it. I think I see the quality of costumes maybe even a little more on the cruise, and just because, like, I think the cruise isn't a cheap ticket for anybody. Let's just face it. It's
correct.
Correct. So if that's where you're going to spend your fandom, I mean, you're going to do it right. And so
you're going to go all out. Exactly.
I mean,
it's already a high ticket item to begin with. So then everyone's thinking, you know what? I'm not going to half-ass this one. When I cosplay, it's going to be a great cosplay on the ship. So
well, I did a Picard Rios when he went to Free Cloud. He looked like a pimp, so I dressed like a pimp. My costume cost $27 off of Amazon, but it was well received anyway. We'll put that in the show notes.
There you go. There you go.
Oh yeah, no, that amazes me as well. So
no, I have another question now. Besides parties and everything, obviously another cruise specific sort of entertainment is of course the excursion. It's been actually that was I love that. I did only one, unfortunately, excursion. But I was wondering, how did they, is that something that they reached out to and said, okay, we have these available, do you want to host any one of these? Do you want to join any one of these? How did that part work for you?
Yeah, so what happened was I was given a choice of 2 different ports, and then any of the excursions from those 2 ports I could select as the one that I would be hosting. So they gave me that. No, that's not correct. Megan's going to tell me what. Megan.
I'm happy you have her.
Yeah,
she has all the details.
They gave me all the ports. Okay. One because of a time conflict. I think it was San Juan. Was that what it was? Yeah. I couldn't pick any excursions from there, so I had the pick of the litter from every other port that I had no time conflicts with to pick. So I picked a snorkeling excursion. Megan picked the snorkeling excursion, not me.
Megan, good job.
This is the best one. Yeah. And, had a super, super fun time. And, for me, I just felt that, that whole bit where I was talking about, I think you guys might have saw it in the comedy show when I was talking about the fact that they asked us, we took a picture on the beach at first, the whole group of us, and then at the end of the snorkeling tour, like we had maybe 20 minutes left or whatever, and they said, okay, let's take a shot in the ocean, and so everyone's kind of like, we're not far out, we're just kind of like bobbing around, it's probably, the water's up to your chest, but you're definitely feeling the sway of the water. So we take that picture, and then after that photo, I started to talk to everybody, just telling them funny stories or whatever, just, being my normal self. And everyone just sort of kind of floated around me in a circle, like a ring. And it was just the most bizarre thing because everyone that was on the beach that had nothing to do with the Star Trek cruise that were just there, they were just looking and staring and wondering, who is that Asian man in the water? Who is? And then in my stand-up comedy, I joked, I said, people were looking, saying, who is that Asian Jesus out there? And then I forgot to say this, but there was a couple that were from Colombia, and they were on the cruise with their mom, and they came on the snorkel excursion with me. And the couple told me, the young couple, they were saying, they're like, oh my God, my mother was there, and she was in that the water circle that was around you. And she was so happy, and she was beaming because she was so close by to you and listening to you, and she doesn't even speak a word of English.
That's fantastic.
So I'm thinking Asian Jesus transcends all languages.
There you
He is
go.
the universal translator, yeah.
I know. I went on the Wilson Cruise excursion in San Juan, and I'm Puerto Rican, so I kind of knew where we were going. But it was
Right.
hilarious because as I was just telling Marina about this. So we were kind of towards the end of the walk, and there's this like famous coffee shop in that old San Juan area, and Wilson went to get coffee. Like we lost him. This girl, I forget her name. She's like, has anyone seen Wilson Cruise? I'm like, it'll be bad if we lost the actor, but he showed back up with his coffee.
Yeah.
What is that kind of stuff that makes you? It makes it worth it, right? Everybody just the silliness of that's what I enjoy a lot, and I'm a silly guy, so all the more for me.
Oh my God. Well, it's a funny thing about Wilson is he came to see my Saturday night comedy stand-up, and afterwards he's like, oh my God, he's like, you are my hero, and I will tell you why later. And I never heard back from him after that, so he disappeared in my life too. I'm still waiting to know why I'm his hero. It's something that I said in that stand-up comedy act, spoke to him or whatever. So but then again, Wilson. I did a panel on the last day with who was it? It was Denise Crosby and Wilson and myself, and it was Back from the Dead was the name of the title of the panel because
that was a great
all
panel.
three of us have died. Yeah, it was a really good panel, and Wilson divulged to the audience that he's been binging Voyager like crazy. So he's been watching a lot of Voyager. Yeah. So
Garrett, we definitely don't want to let you go without telling us what you thought about the reunion, because the 25th anniversary of Voyager reunion, because we were stoked.
It was. Yeah. Let me tell you, I've had the pleasure and the honor of seeing the cast in various combinations, including a couple of full ones, more than one.
Right.
And Voyager cast nearly always basically blows the roof. It would be like either the best panel of the entire event or at least, like in the top three.
Sorry, TNG.
And this one was one of those because people were howling and screaming and laughing. And what's more, because it was so early in the week, that was the moment when literally everybody started to kind of look aside because technically we're not supposed to take photos during the panels. But there was just such an explosion of emotion and excitement. People were just literally, like you were guys, bawling at the end, and people were taking pictures. And I got to feel like the staff was basically okay, wait, that just basically the mood went out of the window. Yes. And but that was great. It was such a marvelous panel. Thank you.
Yes, I agree. I mean, we every little component of that, starting with, remember we sang Happy Birthday to Jerry Ryan's daughter. Yeah, we took video of that. But it was just one of those panels that were pretty much, it really flowed well. Like the flow, the chemistry, the energy of that panel was really good, and to be honest, I think the only thing that really detracted from it is I felt that, we didn't really need a moderator. To be honest, we could have
I agree.
Or I'll tell you, if they let me do it, because they let me moderate a panel in Vegas once with the Voyager cast there.
Yeah,
and
I remember that.
It went super well. You know, people were coming up saying, can you moderate everything out there? I'm like, you know what, I'd love to. But they gave me that one shot, and after that, they never let me moderate again, which, you know, maybe they're too afraid of me, like, you know, creating a cult following or something, and, you know.
I have noticed that especially like when we do have group or even entire cast photos, if the dynamic is still there, if you will, it just works. You don't need to add any other elements.
Well,
and it's always true with the Voyager cast.
Well, I'm happy you had that time, because one of the saddest part for us was, God bless you guys, when you were doing your cast photo and you were there for so many hours.
Oh, God.
Oh,
my God.
I just remember I went up and I'm like, these people look like they're going to die. but everybody had a smile in my picture, so thank you very much.
Yeah.
But you guys.
That's good that you got that.
Troopers.
You know the amount of time that was? It was 3 hours and 45 minutes straight of cast photo that we did, the Voyager cast photo. We were missing a couple people, obviously. We didn't have, you know, Chakotay was not there, Robert Beltran, and Paris, Robert McNeil. So we were missing 2 Roberts. But other than that, we had everybody else, with the exception of Cass, of course. Yeah. But 3 hours and 45 minutes of just straight one photo after another. It's tough, you know. And I mentioned at the Back from the Dead panel that I'm dealing with a bulging disc in my neck, and that's been really affecting my mobility, and I've had numbness in my hands and knees. So technically, I was sitting down, and there were 4 chairs on in the photo op, and the 3 ladies and myself were the original people sitting there. But then Ethan Phillips showed up, and somebody made a comment like, "You're really going to let Ethan stand? Like, isn't he like 25 years older than you?" So but no one in my cast knew I was having upcoming surgery. So I was like, fine, I'll let Ethan sit. So literally the last 30 minutes of that photo op, there was 2 or 3 times I almost passed out, like cold, and I had to sit down and just take a second. Yeah, because it was so strenuous on my body. Especially with what I'm dealing with. And now with the pandemic that we're dealing with, like all surgeries that are not life-threatening surgeries are all postponed. So my April 14th date is now out the window, so I'm going to have to deal with these numb fingers and very weak knees. Like weak to the point where I've actually collapsed a few times in public, where I've just fallen on the ground.
Oh my God! Please take care of yourself.
Yeah.
I can only laugh because that's happened to me. Like when I had this problem, and you would just like fall. You try to be graceful. You try to find a chair before you made it all the way down.
Before it happened. But I literally, the feeling is as if I am like a Pinocchio-like puppet with strings, and then someone just cuts that one string, and I just fall down in a heap, right? So, and that's what, I saw the MRI, and that disc is so just expanded out and bulging that it's blocking off the spinal fluid, it's pushing into the spine, so that's causing the complete numbness of both hands I have right now. Very little circulation of blood is going to either hands or feet. Like they're ice cubes and they're numb at the same time, so that's annoying. And the knee thing is just scary because when your knee gives out and buckles for any reason, it can just happen. It just sort of says, "Hey, I'm not going to work right now. Bye," and it just leaves. That's what's been happening. It's scary, but like I said, we powered through that 3 hour and 45 minute group photo op. I felt even worse for Kate. You guys know that Kate stayed there and did her single photo op for another 2 hours?
I was actually going to bring this up. I was going to ask if your personal photo ops were any time, because she actually spent 7 hours.
Mine was another day. Yeah, she didn't get back to her room until 10:30 at night.
Yeah. I was told that it was the total was somewhere between the complimentaries with the cast, the complimentaries just with her, and then the regular ticket. Her photo ops took roughly 7 hours.
Yeah,
that's insane. Yeah,
super.
It's been my hope this year to do a giant celebration of Voyager because I have, pardon me, my favorite series. And so it would start with, the cruise, and it would end with destination in London in November.
Right.
I am keeping all my fingers crossed that all my, planning. So far, 3 of my spring conventions actually got either canceled or postponed. So, keeping fingers crossed, things, going to the positive side of things, and
I see virtual cons in our future.
Yeah, no, I agree.
No.
I was thinking that myself. I find it such bad luck that this pandemic happened the same year as Voyager's 25th, and it's sort of like, what? Why are you doing this to us?
You got stuck in the Delta Quadrant for 70 years, so I mean, come on, you've already got that luck.
There you go.
All right. Well, time is getting away, so let's try and wrap this up. I guess we can do sort of last-minute thoughts, impressions. How was overall the cruise for you? What stood out the most?
For me, like, the cruise has turned into kind of what Vegas is for me a little bit in terms of it's more of a family reunion and celebrating the things you love together in one big group. I totally will keep doing this. This is, I don't have a lot of family around me here or in the country anymore, so, like, this is my family, and we built that union, and so, like, I will keep doing this as long as I can, as long as it keeps happening. But the cruise has got a special place in my heart because, like, I love the water, and so anytime when we're going somewhere and I can just feel the calm of the water and just see how small I really am in the world, but how much I have with all these people coming together, that makes it. And I get real sappy, Garrett. It's just the way I am. But that's my impression.
That's sweet. So this particular cruise, you've done 4 of them. Was there something that was like, okay, this was the absolute moment of the trip?
Well, I will tell you, I never thought a $27 pimp costume would get as much attention as I have on social media. That is the winner for me. And I got to say, the last time I got that much attention was when I dressed up as a Orion Uhura. I called myself Greena. And that was the other time. Yes, it was fabulous. It's all on my Facebook if anybody wants to look for it. But yeah, I don't do a lot of cosplay, but, like, every once in a while, just something comes in my mind, and it's, I don't know, it kind of gives me the feeling of what some of you guys must have felt like when you were, when you're out and about and people recognize you, like, so it's so much fun for me. But I didn't have a lot of room in my luggage, so I only did the one big thing. So, but that's it for me. How about you, Marina?
Well, as we mentioned several times already, this was the first time, so I'm super glad that I had the chance to experience it. It is a bit of a balancing act because to do both, well, as plans stand so far, at least for the year, to do the cruise and STLV and DST in one year is quite a bit, it's quite tricky. Primarily financially, of course. But I've been dreaming to try it. I'm glad that they moved it to March because that was probably the main reason why I could never go before. I used to be in January. So, the Star Trek, looking at it as a floating convention, that was an extraordinary experience. It's unique. Those who are thinking about maybe going, if you can afford to take a week out of your life, if you can afford it financially, hopefully, I mean, we do get payment plans, let's face it, try it. If you want to try it, go for it. I am actually not renewed for next year, simply because there are certain things where I'll be frank, I discovered that I'm not a cruiser, actually. I am fine being on water, but there are certain elements where I'm like, okay, well, this is what you do on a cruise, and I don't particularly care for it. So I'm actually going to be taking a break, and I'll be coming back again in a year or two.
I told you should have gotten the drink package. It would have been all good.
Hey, I am all about panels and things. I love that sort of thing. I like movement. No, but this was an extraordinary experience. I mean, aside from what we already talked about, the 25th anniversary of Voyager panel, that was mind blowing. The various presentations and Q&As that we had, the game shows, all of this is like this length of light, if you will. There was one moment that was what you talked about, this part of being one of Trek community. One of our, someone we know through STLV, actually, Christian Bobak, proposed to his girlfriend during Kate's photo op. that this was arranged moment, and it was absolutely brilliant.
Did that? Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
it was amazing.
It was incredible. It was like just it's so perfectly Star Trek in that moment, and Kate said some wonderful things. And one of our there's about 20 of us that we all kind of arranged to be there at that moment. One of our friends, Michelle, actually arranged for a group photo. So there is this wonderful shot of all of us around Kate and Christian and Yovanka right there in the middle, like literally minutes after having popped the question. And it was one of those like really perfect moments ever.
And it was the second half of Kate's picture day, so.
Yeah, this is the thing. It was already dark. Yeah, it was already dark outside. That's how long it was. But it was one of those like okay, it cannot get any better in terms of just this pure excitement and love. So that's certainly something that definitely stands out as one of those like, wow, I can't believe that I actually get to be a part of it.
So Garrett, what are your ending impressions? What do you think, and what are you thinking for coming back next year?
Well, even though this is my first ECT Trek cruise, it was probably my, if you count a cruise Trek and also all the cruises I've been on with my parents, with family, this is probably my 20th cruise, maybe, I think. I've done quite a few of them. And this was the most turbulent of all the seas by far. I've never had it this rocky.
I've heard that.
Yeah. And so that, I was waiting for you, Marina, to say that was something that bugged you, but
I'm sorry to interrupt. This is actually something that it's going to sound really weird. My sister and I thought that this was great fun. Especially my sister, she said, this is lovely. She was like, it's so calming, and like literally there was one day I couldn't wake her up. She was like, it literally rocked her to sleep to the point of like complete I don't know.
They're the other end of that spectrum.
Yeah, probably. I mean, we were at the point of like literally like letting our mutual friends on the ship say, like, please, we brought like Remini and all the other things because we've never been on a big ship. We knew how it was going to work out. And in our case, it worked out perfectly. We had sea legs,
I'll tell you, Marina, you and your sister are the glass is half full people because you made the most out of something that other people, for instance, I don't know if you know Kate's assistant Amy Imhoff, she left early because she was getting nauseous, she couldn't take the movement, and it was so much overwhelming that she said it's really ruining my experience. I got to get off at the next one. So when Kate left, she left too.
And it got really bad in Cooksamaya, like when people tried to dock there. I looked out and I went, there is no way I'm going on that little boat over there. I'm sorry.
Oh my God! You're looking at that the tent of the boat, the little boat that takes you in, and it is it's moving like it's at one moment it's 10 feet higher than it was, then it dips down 20 feet lower because the waves were just.
And other people were appreciating me not going, because I am not graceful. I would have.
There was this one evening where we were going to one of those, like everything up and down and sideways and everything. And I got a stupid idea. Like, I want to go outside and just take a look. And it was kind of like getting darker already. So, those large doors that they have automatically open. I make a step, the doors open. I get sprayed head to toe with water. I'm like, okay, I have enough experience. I'm going to go inside now.
That is fantastic. That is a great story.
Or, Marina, what you didn't know, it was basically Joey from ECT with a bucket. He just threw that on you.
It could have been. It could have been
to enhance your cruise experience.
No, but at that point, I think it was sort of like, when was it the worst? Sort of like middle of the week, I think? It was before San Juan, right?
Yeah, it was before San Juan.
It was before San Juan. So I was kind of getting a little bit cooped up because in my case, it's, again, like, one of the reasons I said I'm not a cruiser, I cannot stay outside in the sun for too long, even with sunblock on. Yeah. So it was getting a little bit kind of like I want to go outside and breathe a little bit of fresh air. And it didn't work.
Well, it was, right. There's only one, I think it was the first year. Yeah, the first year we went, there was, we were trying to dock on Norwegian's private island, and it was bad. We couldn't dock. But I tell you, that's when the actors kicked it into high gear, because that's when Denise came up with that mystery science theater thing she does with all the Trek episodes, and everybody just gave us an extra fun sea day, so that was exciting. So, but I am looking forward to maybe calmer water. That would be nice. But
but other than that, I think it was a great experience for me. I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I highly encourage anyone who has never been on a Trek cruise to give it a shot. I mean, I think you'll be definitely satisfied with the end result. And if you've never cruised before, it's basically a hotel on the water, and you get to order as many of the entrees, appetizers, and desserts that you want. That's the one advantage of being a hotel on the water as opposed to a hotel on land, where your dinner bill would be exorbitant if you were to order 4 entrees and 3 appetizers, and but you can do that on a ship. So that's one of the advantages.
That's one of the pleasures,
as far as for me, in terms of new projects, I took a break from Hollywood. So from 2005 to 2019, I took a 14-year break. So I'm just getting back into it right now. Obviously, the pandemic has slowed everything to a grinding halt right now. Nothing is filming right now. So I hope that I will be able to announce on Twitter or Instagram a new project sooner than later. For those of you who would like to follow me on Instagram and Twitter, it's the same address. It's Garrett, my name, Garrett, the letter R for my middle initial, and then Wang. Now, I selected that because I was copying Jerry Ryan, because Jerry Ryan was the first person to adopt Twitter from the Star Trek Voyager cast, and so she was Jerry L. Ryan. So her middle name is Lynn, right? So, and I thought, I'll be cute. I'll put my middle name in there, not realizing that anybody who's going to try to find me on social media is going to probably just type in my first and last name, right? And so if you do that, there is someone else that owns that Twitter account. It's just at Garrett Wang. And this kid, this is what sucks. This person's photo is basically a picture of what it looks like. It's taken from the back of a boat, not a ship, like a cruise ship, but a boat. And it's somewhere in some harbor, and 2 kids are getting out of the water from snorkeling or something. So you see the tops of their heads, and you can tell that they're Asian, but other than that, you don't know who they are. And so this is his photo, right? So I finally messaged this person. I go, hey, this is Garrett, and what's up? And he's like, oh, it's you. And I'm like, yeah, it's me. And I said, is there any way you can change your profile photo for me so people would know that you're not me? He's like, nah, I like that photo. So I'm thinking, I said, just out of curiosity, how old are you? He's like, 13. This is some teenager in Singapore with my name that is just insistent upon keeping his profile photo. So I feel like I should probably have more followers, but I think a lot of people go to just at Garrett Wang and they see this picture, and it's a private account, so they're like, so they probably just sort of bypass following that account or trying to follow that account. If you put the R in there, you'll find my Twitter account and also my Instagram account. So any new developments, I will post that on Twitter.
Great. Sure. Well, we'll keep following.
All right. Well, good. Sure. Well, yes, and good luck. Good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
So, Marina, where can people...
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thank you. And, we just had, one interaction on, and you were so gracious, and I want to thank you so much for that. This will be, the highlight of our year, aside of the boat switching around.
Oh.
So thank you so much.
Listen, still keeping fingers crossed for Vegas and the rest of it. So,
Are you going to Vegas too? Are you going to? Are you?
So right now my plan is to go to Vegas. Yeah.
Vegas is my 10th whole event of the year. It's going to be my 11th in a row, and I look forward to it every year. So this year, like I said, because of the anniversary and everything, that's why I kind of went into a little bit of a debt, and decided to do the cruise and Vegas and GSG and some miscellaneous Comic-Cons in between. But right now, it's more than a little troubling, but
Yeah, we have
like I said,
I hear you.
I have an
keeping fingers crossed.
Yeah, I have an international crowd in Vegas, like 10 of us from the UK and
Australia.
San Francisco and from everywhere, and we always kind of sit together and meet together once a year. This is our family reunion, so we're keeping our fingers crossed, but we also want to stay safe. So we'll just follow what people say and try to stay out of trouble. But Garrett, thank you so much. And Marina, where can people find you?
You can find me on Facebook, actually Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram under my full name, or you can go via handle, Dracorex, DRAKKOREX. And of course, as many of our listeners know, Jesse and I are co-admins of the unofficial Star Trek Las Vegas Convention group. And of course, Shore Leave, you can find us on Twitter at Shore Leave, or on Facebook under our full name. And Jesse, where can people find you online?
You can find me at on Twitter. It's Outrageous Okendo, OUTRAJES OKENDO. I think that's as many letters as Twitter lets you have, but that's me. You can also find me on Facebook, Jesse Okendo, and I'm on the unofficial Star Trek Las Vegas group, as Marina mentioned. We're kind of everywhere. I would just go to Shore Leave and just look us up. That would probably be the easiest. But guys, oh my gosh, thank you. I had so much fun talking. Thank you so much, Garrett, for being here again. And Marina, we will talk to you soon.
Thank you very much, everyone. Live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper. Thanks.